Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another round of sound. It's the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. Bob Pompeani here. We have a lot to get into, including Pitt and another loss for them. Penn State moves up a little bit. If we have time, we'll talk about Tristan Jarry being back here, but the #1 topic tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown will be the Steelers, who are 7-2 and riding high. And here to discuss is your panel. We have the PM team here. Andrew Fillipponi, far left. In the middle, it's Chris Mueller. And to his left, it's one and only, I know Wanda's coming, Will Graves from the Associated Press.
A big Commanders fan, so he's probably in mourning right now. Sorry about your loss, Will.
That was a team that was learning how to win. That's a team still learning how to win.
No, they better go back to class.
All right, well, we'll start with you on this one. I want to just get into overall thoughts about what it meant for the Steelers to come back and win that game the way they did. They faced a lot of adversity, down by 10, but somehow they pulled it out.
I mean, I looked this up after the game. It was their first win when the opponent has scored 27 points or more since Ben retired. It was their last, against the Bears. That was the last time they outscored a team as opposed to shutting them down. So that's good. I mean, I don't know. Like I as a Commanders fan, look, I'm very optimistic about the future of the team with Jaden Daniels. Still, the defense is not great. The Steelers, I think, did enough to win. I don't know if the Steelers outplayed them. I don't know if you guys. I thought the Steelers took better advantage of their opportunities. A couple drives Washington had, didn't get field goals. Would have changed the game.
I did not look up any fancy stats like Will did about this game, although I know it was the first time in like over 1,000 days a Steelers quarterback threw 3 touchdown passes, like dating back to Roethlisberger's
Okay, so you did
season.
Look up a
no,
stat.
I didn't look at it, though, because I just saw it on Twitter when I was mindlessly scrolling. I have 2 concurrent thoughts about this game. One is, good teams win games like this, where not everything goes their way, where there's a fake punt that goes off of James Brick Hands Pierre's paws and gives them the ball at the 15-yard line. Good teams win when they don't have their best, when they're averaging 3.3 yards per carry. And the reason good teams win those games is because they usually have good quarterbacks who make up for some of those deficiencies and warts. And let's be honest, this is a game they don't win with Justin Fields as their quarterback, because he's not dropping one in the bucket on a day where he's only completed 50% of his passes to win a game with 2.5 minutes left. Those are my 2 big takeaways. The quarterback wasn't even great by his recent 2-game standard. He was still good enough, and that's why they're a good team, and that's why they can win a game like this.
I mean, how do we not make this about Mike Williams? We've looked for a number 2 wide receiver since March, since the guy that wore the number that he now wears was traded, and everyone freaked out. Oh, my God, we got a guy that we're going to cut from Carolina back in return? For Deontay Johnson, look what he's doing in Baltimore now. I think you have your answer for what kind of player he is.
Targeted, has he?
No, he one catch.
And he
6
slip
yards.
and fall on Thursday when they targeted him. No, we've been looking for somebody to pair with George Pickens, and what happened? Pickens had one of his best games, and Mike Williams, 1 target, 1 catch, 1 touchdown. It sealed the game. Manna from heaven for the Steelers. You found a veteran guy that can make big plays, and he delivered with no prep in the biggest moment of the season.
What's noteworthy, by the way, is does he even get on the field without Austin going
the
down?
Part of that play.
Tomlin said he still would have, because they wanted a big man and a big body in that spot. But Tomlin lied about a lot of stuff.
He also said that the punt thing was his fault when it was very obviously a Killebrew check when they saw a certain look. Come on. We know the man lies about some of these things to try to either put the blame on himself or to maybe, in that case, like Justin Fields. One of these days, we'll see him in a special package. Mike keeps telling you might find it in one of these games.
I thought we'd see it today. Well, back to you on this. Let's talk about the fake punt, because it came at a time when you're looking at down and distance and field position where you would not expect it. However, the call was a good call. They recognized what was available to them. The execution was terrific, with the exception of the catch. Right. But people complain about it because it didn't work, and you give them an automatic 7 points pretty much there. But do you think that's still a right play? If you had to do it again, would you?
Well, I mean, look, even the camera guy was faked out, right? Because nobody knew what the heck was going on for the first 10 seconds after.
Right? You don't expect it then.
I mean, look, where they're at in the game. But look, this is a team that for years people have complained they're too conservative. They're too conservative. They're living in their fears, no matter what Mike T says. All the things that they've done the last, really since Omar took over, but especially the last 10 months, blowing up the quarterback room, trading Deontay Johnson, bringing in Arthur Smith, signing Russell Wilson. All of those things are designed for a team that is, their mindset is to be aggressive.
So is that your way of saying yes, it was the right call?
Yes, it was the right call.
I would do it again.
Did you like the call?
No, I thought it was ridiculous. Here's the thing I learned about
this. If it works, would you have said the same thing?
May I just attempt to answer before you interrupt me and cut me off?
I didn't interrupt. I'm just.
This is what I learned.
Hold on, Pony. I need to. No.
Here's what I learned about this from following guys like Chris and you and others on social media today. is that apparently a call is good if a player screws up. I learned this now. Everything was great about it except James Pierre. So let me just make sure let me just make sure I follow the logic then. If instead of a fake, if they had actually put the offense back on the field, and Russell Wilson threw it to a wide receiver who was wide open, and the guy dropped the ball, still a great call?
The guy's not, but
the element of the surprise.
Literally, that's
the element
that's not an apples to apples.
No. It's not even close to apples to apples.
Because all we're debating is player execution.
No, it isn't. Because the whole point of the play working the way it was supposed to until Pierre dropped it was the element of surprise that wouldn't be there if you lined everybody up on 4th and 15.
Let me offer another hypothetical then. If Pierre is wide open but Killebrew throws it over his head, is it still a good call?
No.
But everything else is.
See, I think it is because
then you go. This is what I mean.
Then you kill Killebrew.
Yeah, you just kill Killebrew.
But Bob said it's not a good call in that situation.
I would have looked at it like, oh my God, what are you doing?
And that's how I feel about it now. They couldn't move the ball.
The element of surprise.
Danny Smith might have the best special teams unit in the league right now.
Okay, but don't you have to factor into it that a safety throwing the ball to a corner who doesn't usually catch the ball might not work?
Should you maybe give Danny
might make it work? And
the safety might be their backup quarterback if he keeps throwing passes out there. That was right on the hands.
If they do it from their own 30 or 40, I have zero problem with it. I really mean that. It was just the way the game had gone to that point. Washington wasn't moving the ball, and you gave them life with that play.
I think it's somewhat
You were trailing at the half because of that play.
I think it's somewhat overrated, the impact,
that play if it was like a
yes, of course.
I know that everyone's going to say, well, the Steelers electively decided to do this and it didn't work. There was some ball don't lie there with the fumble, with the muff punt, which essentially cancels that play out. And I know what he's going to say, so I'm not even going to let him say it, that the Steelers chose to do that.
You can't tell me what to say on this
I am a process versus results guy. I love the process, even if Pierre bricked the result.
All right, we got to go to a break on that note, but we're not done. We're going to talk about the defense. It was a good news, bad news days for this defense. Gave up 2 big, long drives. It looked like that was going to be the end of it, and then all of a sudden they made a 3-and-out when they needed it the most. We'll talk about it and more as we continue here with the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. All right, welcome back. There were so many elements to this game. We're going to break them down. Talking about the defense here first. Andrew, I want to start with you. They gave up a 94-yard drive right before halftime. They came out first half of the first series of the second half, another 71-yard drive. But yet the defense, when they had to, after Jaylen Warren fumbles, comes up with a big play, 3-and-out. Should have had a holding call on Watt. Assess the defense, what you thought of their play.
At the end of the day, I ended up giving them a very high grade, and here's why. The one thing that teams had not been able to figure out until today was how to stop Jaden Daniels in the run game. And they held, other than Lamar Jackson, probably the best dual-threat quarterback in the NFL this season, to 3 carries and 5 yards. So whether that was a schematic thing, or Washington was just afraid that because of the physical nature of the Steelers' defense, they were going to get Jaden Daniels killed by running the ball against those guys. Either way, they mitigated and erased one of the biggest advantages Washington had offensively. If you look at Daniels' passing stats in this game, they're pretty much consistent with what he's done all year. But they completely took him out of the game as a runner, and to me, that was the difference in the game.
There were a lot of drops, too, that hurt him.
There were some drops. I mean, if Brian Robinson plays in that game, might be a little tougher for the Steelers because he is their best actual running back. But I would give them a pretty good grade because even though I defended the fake punt that didn't work in the end, it did set them up with a very short field. That's tough to defend. That's 7 points that might not be on the board otherwise, or you make them drive it. Here's what I look at. They have those 2 drives to bookend to straddle the halftime where they put up 165 yards and a couple of scores. I think after that second touchdown drive, they put up 26 or 27 plays for like 53 yards. That is called actually clamping down when it matters. And the Steelers, had they not won this game, they would have had to blame their offense because their defense took control the last 20 or so minutes.
Yeah, I mean, the defense was good, but I wouldn't say, I mean, they still gave up 27. And I think Washington, we were talking about the 3-and-out. Let's remember that McCaffrey was wide open going across the field on 3rd down, and Daniels overthrew him. Now, there probably should have been a holding penalty against Watt on that play. But let's be honest, is Washington the best offense that they're going to see the rest of the season? No, a better one is coming next week, and maybe a better one is coming the week after that. So, and with Highsmith obviously likely being out obviously for a while, like in Herbig maybe close to being back, like it was good enough to win today, but is it good enough to beat the Ravens? Is it good enough to beat the Eagles? Is it good enough? I mean, the Chiefs.
I've been told they dominate the Ravens.
As they do. They've won 7 of 8 against them.
So, like, yes, it was good enough today, but it needs to be better if they want to go where they say they want to go.
But this is a different Ravens team, I think, as far as Lamar's presence in the pocket. I don't want to get on that topic right now. I still want to continue with a couple of points here. Like 2 of these at the end of the game. I thought the 4th and down conversion, they had been 11 for 11. I thought 12 for 12. Ertz, to me, had a first down. I know what they said on that.
Take one more step, Zach. Take one more step. Oh, my God.
I still think where he caught the ball, I think they could have, if the call on the field was the first down, they would have given it to him anyway.
Probably.
Right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
The call matters.
I just didn't. You just don't strike me as someone who wants to disagree with Gene Steratore publicly, and you're doing that right now.
Sometimes I do. I think it's that close of a call. Anyway, if they had it, it's a whole different. But the call at the end of the game, Zach Frazier said that they weren't going to run a play there. Everyone knew that. Some didn't.
You could see Mike Tomlin on the camera shot going over to the ref and basically saying, I am taking a timeout once this play clock gets down to like 1. Yeah. You could see he was having a conversation. There's a game in Germany this morning. There's probably an NFL fan in Mongolia or Denmark or somewhere where they're just getting games who's only watched the league for 3 years, like I would be with an English soccer game, who knew what they were trying to do there. And yet Johnny Newton doesn't.
That being said,
he's a young player, but he should know. I would have
brought the offense back on the field if they didn't jump and gone for it in that situation.
You would have?
Yes. I just watched Jaden Daniels throw a ball 65 yards for a touchdown. I didn't want to punt the ball back to him and give him a chance where only a field goal won the game. I would have asked my offense to get 1 yard.
And if they didn't, you would have given up that field position.
Yeah, and okay, now you're the highest paid defense in the league. Don't let them get 30 yards.
It wouldn't have been 30 yards. It would have been about 15.
Well,
they're midfield.
Well, they're kickers.
I mean, but my bigger thing is like that. What they did at the end of the game now just justifies all the 99 other times it's going to happen this season where they run out and they don't snap it and the crowd boos. This is the one time that justifies that call. But it was, I mean, look, it was, when I talk about learning how to win, that is a learning how to win situation. Washington, new culture, new coach, new quarterback, new coordinators. That where you have a veteran coach on the other side, you have a veteran quarterback.
The quarterback does the hard count pretty well. And, like, I don't even know if Newton needed a hard count to jump there. He looked like he had ants in his pants. He was just ready to.
He was anxious to make a play that wasn't going to happen.
There are teams that in that situation wouldn't even bother going out there to try doing it, and they did, and it worked.
And it worked. Okay,
it salts the game away.
Globally here now, we're 7-2 here at this point, 7-3 of the Ravens. Andrew, what is this team? Is this team now a contender? I heard Bill Cowher after, I'm talking about Super Bowl contender.
Yeah.
Bill Cowher said so pretty much without saying.
I know a team has gone over 300 days without a loss in your conference, but they needed a 35-yard field goal to get blocked today to win. And the Steelers have a better point differential than them. So, yeah, it's the boogeyman and Patrick Mahomes, and they always seem to turn it up in the playoffs. But I don't see the Ravens or the Chiefs or even the Bills as being leagues better than the Steelers. I think they're all very close. And I think the Steelers are better than the Ravens right now because their pass defense is so bad.
I think Washington is still one of the better teams in football. I can't name 10 teams better than Washington probably. I can name one, the Steelers, and I think that they are right there with the rest of the top of the conference. Like, the Ravens do scare me offensively. Their defense stinks. The Bills are really good, but the Bills scuffled for a little while with Joe Flacco today. The Chiefs, Pony just said what happened with them.
They've been the luckiest team going so far.
I went in and I would get roasted by people, even though I was proven right every time. I would say they just don't strike me, 21 or 23, any of those years, like even 20, like a team that could do anything in the playoffs. This team can do something if and when they get there.
I think the ceiling keeps rising for this team with each passing week. But I really think for them to go to the Super Bowl, they have to play at least one home game, which means they have to win the division. I do not see them winning 2 road games, winning at Buffalo and at Kansas City and going to this. I just don't see that happening. So to me, they have to win. They're definitely a playoff team. Are they a Super Bowl contender? Look, you have to prove it. Who have they beat?
Hold on. We always say, though, about other teams
they've beaten Washington, Atlanta,
and the Chargers.
The Chargers
are not the teams that have handed it to them the last 6, 7, 8 years. They haven't.
Fine, they're going to get a chance to take one of those.
Right, and I would like my chances at Acrisure than
I would like
in
them
Buffalo
better.
or Kansas
We always worry about what other teams can do. Other teams have to worry, hey, we might bottle up Russell Wilson, then he's going to throw a ball 50 yards and somebody's going to be on the receiving end.
To your point, though, look, some of the defense, Kansas City's defense is elite.
Yeah,
and Washington put a lot of pressure on him, and he made a couple of great plays, but he also looked like a guy that had accuracy issues.
All right.
Yeah, that's you're making the Kenny Pickett argument for Pony.
No, he threw 3 touchdowns. Kenny would have needed 3 months to do that.
It's going to be the Ravens and the Steelers Sunday coming up, and you'll see it on KDKA-TV. When we come back, we're going to talk about another Pittsburgh team that's going in a different direction, the Pitt Panthers, and this whole college football playoff thing. That's next. All right, the other team in Pittsburgh, when it comes to football, is going in a different direction. 7-0 to 7-2, a bad loss, an embarrassing loss at SMU, followed by what we saw last night. Andrew, how would you classify what you saw last night? What does that mean for Pitt moving forward? Do they win another game, or do they regroup and win 3?
It looks like they're going to win 0 games that are left on their schedule. They're more than a touchdown underdog against Clemson, and it's not a vintage Clemson team. That game was worst fears realized for Pitt, because you try to look at the SMU game and throw it out and say that team's just better than you. They might make the college football playoff. You're starting a redshirt freshman quarterback in a new offense. We'll get him next time. But then you come and you let a team that had lost 3-4 in a row, was 4-5, just really outplay you. I know there was a call late, but come on now. Virginia was the better team.
Shouldn't have been to that. It should not have been to that point in the game where we're even talking.
Anyway.
And there's a game like that every year for Pitt. There just is, unfortunately.
But usually they're not 7-0 when they start having these situations. I mean, you go back to the Cal game, and I think when you're talking about a college player, particularly a young one, you see a quarterback just not look good, and you say, all right, it's college. Like, he might have a couple good weeks of practice, and then he's going to figure it out, get it together. It has continued to go the wrong direction. The Syracuse game was a complete anomaly for obvious reasons. You're never going to see a team do that again for another 20 years.
Holstein didn't look good in that game.
That's my point, though. It masked the fact that he didn't. And it's the only reason that they kept him in late in that game was because Pat knew he needed some reps to try to get some confidence. Well, that didn't work.
And then he got hurt.
Right.
Gets hurt. That stunts the progress on any kind of practice reps getting, him out of that funk. Crushed by SMU. This is who they are now, and it really kind of calls into question, is Cade Bell going to figure out a way out of this? Is Holstein good enough? And now you have to ask those questions when you didn't think they'd be on the table.
And Pat Narduzzi keeps going through offensive coordinators, but the results are pretty much the same.
You look at you can't say pretty much the same when you look at what they did, but the regression once I got to conference play has been bad.
Right.
They're under 300 yards 3 of the last 4 games, and the one was against SMU, which was junk yards in the second half.
They played one good conference game, probably, that's North Carolina.
I asked Pat this week. I'm like, our teams have tape on Cade's system now. Do you need to adjust? He goes, yeah, our coaching staff, we have to make adjustments. The line, what they need to adjust is get more NIL money to get a better offensive line, because that is part of the problem.
Yeah, I agree.
Eli's taking some hits, and he looks a little, it's like if my first read isn't there, I'm going to get decked if I don't run, and that's what's happening. He looks like
he's a big, strong guy, but when he's not delivering the blow on a run where he's getting downhill, it's bad.
Like last night when he got hit last night, that was the quickest targeting call I think I've ever seen.
And well deserved.
And right. So whereas the one against Syracuse was like, what are we doing? A QB option up 30, putting him in harm's way.
I think Pat wanted to get confidence.
No, absolutely
That's
right. But like, I just think he's taking some shots, and you got to worry about the confidence in general of the offense right now.
All right, Penn State, you can say what you want about them. They lose big games against big teams, but they also beat everyone else.
Yeah, you know what?
They're in a position now where they're still going to get a chance.
And look, I think with this new system, ultimately, it's going to play out more on the field than it is what people vote for and what subjectivity enters into it. Can someone explain to me how even the AP voters, I know Will's a part of this pack, I don't know if he votes, how does any AP voter think Penn State's better than Indiana? Indiana plays every team and pretty much clobbers every team. And Penn State's 4 and Indiana's 5.
This happens like every year, though, right? I mean, like they've been like.
Why does Penn State get the benefit of the doubt? They can't beat a good
there's
team.
Pedigree involved.
Would they go to Indiana and beat? Would they go to Bloomington and beat Indiana right now? Absolutely not, in my opinion.
No, they would not.
I'm not even sure they'd beat Indiana in Happy Valley.
Indiana struggled with a pretty mediocre Michigan team yesterday.
Okay, that's the first time. And then what did they do to Nebraska, who almost beat Ohio State?
They won the national championship last year. I know they got 4 losses, but they didn't.
They're not a good team. But to make the point here, Ohio State barely beats Nebraska. Indiana practically folded their program. They beat them so bad. It's Penn State's destiny, bottom line, for Ashton Genty and Boise State to come into Happy Valley in the first round, run for about 300 yards, and send James Franklin back to his home.
What I did love yesterday, though, for Penn State was Colton Ecke a week later realizing that we should give the ball to Tyler Warren at the goal line.
Yep.
I mean, that's coaching malpractice.
Yeah, it is. And that's what cost them the game. A lot of things did, but that was among them. All right, we're going to take a break, come back with more right after this. Tristan Jarry's back. What will happen next? All right, Tristan Jarry, 4-0, 169 goals against. He's back. He should start tomorrow. They got Dallas in town. Will, what do you expect next from him and them?
I cannot believe they're starting him at home. I just cannot.
Why?
Because
they are?
I'm just saying. I would assume they are.
Why
would they call him up here if they don't?
If he lets in 2 soft ones in the first period, if his next start is one of these 3 this week,
he's capable of
it's
that,
over.
then why
It is
over.
over.
Can I just say something?
It's over.
What a commentary it is on the player. Not that I disagree with this. That the 2 gentlemen flanking me both reacted to the idea of him starting his first game back at home with shock and horror, like they were watching they were watching the Texas
Your
Chainsaw
stats aren't
Massacre.
even right. The guy in his last Wilkes-Barre game had a 2-goal lead, blew it, and gave up 4 goals on 19 shots in his final game there. And Bloomquist played excellent in his last game. He's got to have the net because he's your one
Why
hope
would they
this
bring
year.
him back then?
Because the conditioning stint's over.
I mean,
they don't have a
and then
choice.
what? You're just going to let him up here?
Yes,
I don't know.
Let him sit there.
They have San Jose on Saturday,
Get
right?
everybody coffee and donuts. I don't care.
If you want to build his confidence up, let him play San Jose. That would be my, save him for.
He'd do really well getting the coffee and donuts till the very end, then he'd spill.
If you want to get his confidence up, have him play the tiny tots that play in between periods.
I'm not sure he can handle them, man. Some of those kids have moves and handles.
They come in. But at some point, they have to figure out what he's doing. He has to figure it out because I think that's still one of their best options. And if not, then they got bigger problems. Anyway, if you're considering an electric vehicle, I should say, but you're worried about the cost of a home charger, number one Cochran Kia is there to help you. And listen, when you buy and lease a new EV this November, you're going to get $1,500 credit toward your charger purchase and installation. Plus, their partner, which is called Treehouse, can handle all the permitting and installation. This offer is available only at number one Cochran Kia, so mention this ad when you buy. Shop now, CochranKia.com. All right, before we go, prediction time. You guys, what do you think? Steelers, Ravens, who wins?
It's Lamar Jackson against the Steelers, so Steelers by 2 touchdowns.
Oh.
Steelers 41-38 in one of the most entertaining games we've seen in years.
Since last week.
It's a prove-it week for me with the Steelers defense. I think Lamar figures it out 30-27.
It's a different Lamar. We'll find out how it goes, and we will have pre- and post-game coverage of that, plus another edition of this show next Sunday night. So thank you for joining us tonight. We'll do it again next Sunday night, and we'll know a lot more about the AFC North after that head-to-head meeting with Baltimore. See you, Wanda. Have a good night.